What's up, everyone? Tanya here with another episode of Pop Culture at Home, and today we are welcoming one of my personal favorites, a legend, comedy hero, currently starring in the Audible original production Vroom Vroom, Mr. Andy Richter. Andy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. Hello.
So I have to ask.
Your background is much more attractive than mine.
Thank you.
I keep mine boring because then I don't have to pick anything up.
So it's just IKEA, really. It's
Yeah, but it's neat. You went to the trouble. You cleaned up.
Thank you. Well, I have a very special guest with me, obviously, and I have to ask you. We've all been home and adapting to this new way of life. How have you been doing during the pandemic?
I've actually been pretty good. Largely due to a medication change in January. No joke. But yeah, I've been okay. I mean, I moved. I was living in an apartment, and because I was married for 25 years and I got divorced and I moved into an apartment. So I was in an apartment for a year, and then I got a dog that wouldn't stop growing. So I moved into a house on February 1st, not knowing what a smart move that was, because I have my own space. I have a yard for the dog, and I'm not riding an elevator every day. Yeah. And I've been okay. I mean, my kids are around, so I got my kids to keep me, focused. The only thing is I have really started to let the chores slip. Because it's like, does it really matter if those dishes don't get done until tomorrow?
Yeah.
Really? No, it doesn't. Yeah,
it's totally understandable. And it's nice that we have this new joy with us with Vroom Vroom. Audible's come out with these awesome new original series, and it's so fresh and funny, and I want to talk about it because it's so good. And it kind of reminds me of the nostalgia from the 1940s, those radio plays,
absolutely.
Yeah, the Lux with Jimmy Stewart. I loved listening to those growing up also, which is strange, but if you've ever heard them, you know how great they are. So I'm wondering, what made you want to be a part of this scripted show, which is so different from what we're seeing lately?
Well, I love doing voice work. I mean, it's I apparently have a knack for it because I continue to get to do it. And I do love. In fact, I am a subscriber to Sirius XM, and one of the channels that I listen to all the time is their Radio Classics, which is the radio plays. That I don't think comedy holds up as well. Jack Benny's pretty funny, but most of the comedies are pretty corny. But I love the suspense stuff, the crime stuff. It's it's just stories. It's stories, and you get to. There is a component to people know this from audiobooks. To be able to visualize yourself is a very powerful thing. And this one, I did this because it was funny too. It was a good project. It was good for me. It was a fun part to play. And yeah, I just don't know what to call these things. I got a big email of it's an Audible original. Don't call it an audio book, because it's not because it never was meant to be a book. It was always meant to be exactly what it is. But radio play doesn't. That's what we called them before, and that doesn't really work now. So I'm voting for audio play. That's my vote. Yeah.
That works.
But yeah, it's really fun. I mean, and it's basically a pretty funny sitcom that you can experience while you're driving. You can't really watch The Office while you're driving, but Vroom Vroom, you can enjoy comedy, a comedy show.
Yeah, and it's
original programming with a great cast. So
yeah, and I love that it's based out of a certified pre-owned dealership. It can't be. Don't call it used. It's certified pre-owned.
That's right.
What can you tell us about your role as Gary?
He's sort of like a long-suffering guy that's, trying to he's kind of a loser, actually, to be honest. He's a well-meaning loser. He's kind of, used to be a kind of a hotshot, big car salesman, and his better days are behind him. But he tries really hard. And he kind of, cuts some corners now and then. but it's all for the, it's a family business. He feels like there's this legacy he has to keep up. So that's kind of a burden. Mm-hmm. He's got these employees that he wants to keep obviously employed and keep getting paid. And that's kind of a burden. But they also do, as most good kind of stories like this, they form a family. It's kind of a ragtag group of people that do have a little family structure. And while that also can be a burden, it also is kind of like his whole reason for keeping this whole thing going in the first place.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you've seen your fair share of car salesmen. So I'm wondering, did you come across any in your research for this role that, you kind of adopted these certain characteristics to make Gary, or was he just, you made him out of it?
No, I don't work that hard. No, I mean, I kind of I tried, I didn't want to make him a big character. I kind of just wanted to play him especially because he's the central character. And it's kind of like, it's like the Judd Hirsch of Taxi. Like Judd Hirsch was the least interesting, character on that show because he's surrounded by all these, people that get to kind of be crazy or weird. And this is kind of the same thing. I'm kind of like the centering, grounding, and Yvette Nicole Brown, the character she plays, probably even more so. Mm-hmm. She's probably the most grounded person in the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, I just wanted to kind of keep it real and keep it believable.
Mm-hmm. And I like that in the production clips, you guys are actually together doing the voices. Like you're not like in separate sound booths.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, does that affect the chemistry as opposed to being in a sound booth alone and then being with, your coworkers and your other co-stars?
Yeah, it does. I mean, you can do it either way. I can't tell you that it's just absolutely necessary that everybody's got to be there because I've done plenty of projects that work out great where nobody ever saw each other, where you go in and you read your lines and there's a producer or somebody that reads the other person's lines. And when they cut them together, you can't hear any difference. But this is a long project and we shot it over a relatively short period of time. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of a scheduling thing and also just made it more fun, and definitely when you're performing longish scenes, which these are kind of longer scenes with more dialogue, if you have another performer that you're performing against, it's easier to keep the energy up and the performance level up. Mm-hmm. Because when you're by yourself after the third take, you kind of start, mm-hmm. you don't have anything to bounce off of.
Mm-hmm. You just have like the bottle of whiskey with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, the cast of voices is great. The characters are so funny too. What was it like working with everyone?
It was really fun. I mean, I knew Yvette a little bit, but I don't think I'd met anybody else in the cast. So it was kind of new for me. Oh, well, John DiMaggio. I know John because John is in virtually every cartoon that's ever been made. So I've worked with him a number of times on different animated projects. And we're also kind of outside, like in the real world, we've actually sort of socialized a little bit. But yeah, there was a great group of people, really fun and really, no issues. Everybody got got it done. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a lot of, somebody that wasn't getting it and wasn't selling it right. It's about sales. It's always sales, car sales, selling your character. It's all sales.
Mm-hmm. And, one of the things I really loved about the show was how it kind of goes across a whole week. So, I'm wondering with that type of time span, are we going to see another week, i.e. another season with this show?
Gosh, I don't know. I would be up for it. But yeah, they just, they got to hire, they got to hire the writer to do it again.
Mm-hmm. And, so, obviously, I asked Yvette this question earlier, and I want to know, give us your best car salesman pitch on why we should be watching, why we should be listening to Vroom Vroom.
Well, because I think you owe it to yourself. There's especially in times like this where, it's very stressful. you're sort of limited in terms of like what you can do and where you can go. So why not take a little vacation from yourself with an Audible original by people who are probably worse off, about people who are probably worse off than you are.
Mm-hmm. And yet, Yvette was also talking about how the show is so good and it's so well written that it could transfer into an Audible sort of TV show, like a visual. Do you see that happening? Do you want to see that happening?
Oh, that'd be great. That would be, sure. Do I want to be on a TV show? Yes, I do. No, that would be really fun. I think it, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Like I say, one of the strengths of this thing is it was always meant to be this. So it isn't, sometimes they turn a book into a movie and it does it, you lose what was great about the book. Whereas this is what it was supposed to be. Yeah. And it could easily be a television show, but it would be different. You would have to kind of, there would just be tweaks, but yeah, it certainly could work. The comedy's strong enough and the actors are strong enough.
Yeah. And, so I've been watching you obviously since I was 8 years old. I used to sneak up in, my parents' living room and watch Late Night with Conan and watch you and Conan. So I want to know, what's the relationship like with Conan? Is it like, years later, is it this is easy or, because I know you guys don't get to see each other, you're obviously doing the 6 feet apart thing now, even with the show. So do you miss hugging him? Do you miss is it nice being away from him 6 feet sometimes? Is it?
No. Well, I mean, this has all been so weird. This time is just so it's unlike anything else. Mm-hmm. There are days now. It's more so now. Like I've been going in because Conan was doing the show from home, and I was doing my show from home, and I felt like I was a subcontractor. Like somebody would send me an email with a bit, and then I would shoot it myself. Yeah. If it needed props, I'd prop it myself. I felt like a YouTuber. Mm-hmm. And then I would get the thing, and because I had nothing else to do, I would get it done in 20 minutes, and then I'd be done. And then it would be another day or two before somebody would say, "Oh, and then we need another thing from you."
Right.
And I ended up feeling like I was retired. I felt like do I have a job? I mean, yeah, I kind of have a job, but I don't know, Mm-hmm. But no, I do. I actually we were off for about a month and we went back in yesterday. I went back in yesterday, and I think I'm going to start going to the theater where he's shooting it on a daily basis, because I think that they're like, it's, well, I got a text that it's more fun when you're here. So why don't you come in? So, I think it just, and I certainly am happy to go have somewhere to go and something to do and some people to see. But we're very, it is weird. We kind of I think we've touched elbows, and we all wear our masks and we all stay pretty far away. I mean, I sit out in the audience of the theater as it's kind of a joke, but now it's kind of been established and it's, it's fun to do it that way.
I was cracking up when he was chasing you around the theater.
Yeah.
So great. I really do think you guys are so amazing. And, before I let you go, I want to ask you, because two of my favorite shows growing up were Andy Richter Controls the Universe and
thank you.
Andy Barker PI, which I believe was underrated, and it was a travesty that it got, canceled so quickly. Would you ever want to see those revived or, on a new network or somewhere
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think it's going to happen because I'm older. It's especially Andy Richter Controls the Universe was about a guy in his early 30s, and I'm 53, so I don't think I could really sell that anymore. Yeah. And Andy Barker, Andy Barker could probably go, but that's just not, there wasn't a strong enough thing for a strong enough fan base for it to go. Although I will, and I'll plug this. I don't know when this is going on, but on September 13th, on Sunday, September 13th, I think that's the right date. We're doing a cast reunion online Zoom table read for Andy Richter Controls the Universe, and all the original cast members are back, and Andy Daly's coming in to read some parts. Coming in.
Yeah.
sitting at home on his computer and playing along with us. But that's it's a charitable thing. It's for we're food bank. We're raising money for a food bank and here in LA, and so I encourage people to check it out because it will be fun, and there'll be conversation ahead of time. We'll all get to and we all miss each other. I mean, we miss people anyway, but like those guys especially, we miss each other. We haven't seen each other in a long time.
Well, I know I can't wait for that. I know there are going to be a lot of fans who are going to be really, really excited for that. So, Andy, honestly, it was such a dream to come true chatting with you today. Thank you so much for taking
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to Pop Culture. And the Audible original Vroom Vroom is exclusively available on Audible and within the Audible Plus catalog. For more on Andy and all your favorite stars, keep it locked to popculture.com.